I knew I did something. I just didn't know what, but I knew I did something. I knew I messed up. And I got up and I looked in the mirror in the bathroom, right? And I'll never forget it. I looked in my eyes and just saw nothing but darkness. I felt empty, alone, scared, regret, remorse. I felt it all. It was just a wave of emotion.
Communication's really difficult if you've never been taught how to do it. You know what I mean?
Right?
We're trying to connect to each other. Like, we're always striving for that, but we were not taught as children how to do it. You know what I mean? So we're kind of winging it in a way.
You know what I've learned about myself? One of the biggest things is that I am enough. For so long, I thought I was never enough. Never good enough for anything. It's not a true statement. I've always been good enough.
Just to start off with our disclaimer, everything we say and do does not reflect the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. For today's episode, I have a wonderful guest. His name is Julio Munoz. He is with the Alameda County Fire Department. He's been there for 10 years. He came on to tell his story about addiction and his alcoholism and just expressing himself and how he became a peer supporter. It's a great episode.
It's time for Crab Lives.
Today is the second day of the Peer Support Group Conference over here in San Diego, and my first guest from the conference is going to be Julio Munoz, right?
Julio Munoz, correct.
I said that right?
Yeah, close enough. We'll take it.
Julio was connected to me by a dear friend, doctor colleague, and we're connected now. We talked on the phone, chat about each other's experiences in life, the struggle, man.
Struggle's real.
And, he works for Alameda County Fire Department. He's been there for 10 years. And for those who've done a decade and beyond with this type of career, they kind of get it. You know, they know what it starts eating at you little by little over those years. And they're dog years, man. You know, that really plays a big part into your body, into your consciousness, into your system. So today we're just going to chat a little about his story, whatever Julio wants to share about his life and where he's at today, and kind of go from there. So thanks, brother, for coming on, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. So if you don't mind, dude, kind of talking about, how you ended up in this seat right now. You're here as a peer supporter, trying to help other people, and I think all of us have some type of common thread of suffering and hell. We made our lives in a world of hell on our own. You know
Correct,
what I mean?
Yes.
And so we fucking get how that feels. And so we try to warn people like, dude, don't do that to yourself because I did it. And you have to take responsibility for your actions at some point, or else there's not going to be any type of change. So I think we do our best to tell other people, hey man, don't make the same mistakes I did. You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's not a good road to follow. Eventually it's going to go sour and you're going to fucking end up in a big dark pit of you digging it yourself over the course of the years,
Yeah, that's what I did. I ended up in a dark pit. And I didn't think there was going to be a way out, but there was.
Bring the mic closer to your mouth. That's cool right there.
Right there?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So yeah, that dark pit I created myself, like you said. But everything started for me as a child. All childhood trauma, it all started then for me. I learned how to bury all my feelings at a young age, and that's what I did through my entire life, through my 10-year career. I buried everything that came up. So growing up, my parents split up at a young age. I think it was in junior high. They split up, and that pretty much it ruined me. My childhood. My childhood was perfect before that. It was amazing. I had everything. And not talk about like monetary stuff. I'm talking about having my family together and family dinners, events. It was amazing. And then that got ripped away from me. And then my whole childhood was just a mess after that. My dad was gone. My mom was struggling and drug me down with him. So I really didn't have my parents in my life. My whole high school career, they were both trying to manage their own feelings and left me by the wayside trying to manage the stuff of my own. So that's when I started drinking. Once I graduated high school, my drinking career took off. And I only drank at first just because it made me feel strong, confident, funny. I was trying to blend into the crowd. And I did that all the way through my adult years as well. So if I was depending on the certain crowd I was with, I tried to be the funny guy, the cool guy, try to be a cholo, right? I tried to do all this stuff. Wherever I could fit in, I would try to make myself fit in and blend in so no one would pick on me and see my flaws that I had or how I was broken. I would try to hide it all, and I did. So I just kept drinking all the way throughout my 20s. You know, I got first trouble with the law with drinking was drunk in public. I don't really remember it. I just woke up in jail. Didn't remember how I even got there. I know I was at Dave & Buster's playing arcade games with my sister, and next thing you know, I wake up and I'm in jail and had no idea what the hell happened.
What were you drinking? Some like was it LA Waters or was it Adios motherfuckers?
I had some AMFs. Yep, that's some AMFs. Red Bull vodka, rum and cokes. See, when I drink, I'm a fucking drinker. I can drink whatever. I can mix, and that was my problem. There's no off switch for me. I can drink beer, wine, hard liquor, and I would never get sick. Not once I ever threw up from alcohol.
Crazy, man.
I would just drink until I physically couldn't hold the cup in my hand and pass out. But then when I'd wake up, I feel so sick I need to continue to keep going. Otherwise I get the shakes and just it was miserable. It was a vicious cycle. So I woke up in jail, right? I was with my sister and that ended up being nothing. They let me go from that. And then I got a DUI when I was 24, 25. I met my wife at a bar, right? I met my wife at a bar and we got married 45 days later.
Holy shit, man.
Yes.
You eloped to Vegas or what?
Went to Reno.
Reno.
We went to Reno, yeah. We married 45 days later. And we were married for 20 years.
Crazy, man.
20 years that lasted. And
Reno's a weird place, dude. That's such a strange location on this planet.
it is. You know, when I was younger, Reno used to be so much fun, but now it's really going downhill.
Yeah, it's like a ghost town, man. You know, it's an interesting spot for sure.
It's only busy the hot August nights. We went to the hot August nights and it was packed again. But other than that, it's empty.
Cool, man.
So so I get hired when I'm 34. Okay. I get hired at the fire department. It took me so long to get hired. It took me 10 years to get hired, over 10 years because of my past, right? My DUI, the crowd I was trying to run with, and bad decisions I was making, really not putting the effort in. So I finally got hired at 34. And I remember some of the guys, you know, coming off duty, going to have beers. I'm like, dude, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, dude, work hard, play hard. You know, we're up for 48 hours. It's not day drinking or, you know, it's like just getting off work like you normally do. So I took it to heart and I ran with it. And I would soon after like a couple months, I would go grab a 12-pack after work and start drinking like at 8, 9 in the morning. And it became normal for me. So drinking progressively went, you know, got a little more and more. But then once I hurt my back, I was off for about 10 months. And then that's when
How'd you hurt your back?
Lifting a patient off the side of a hill.
Of course.
Right? It was a dirt bike, went over the side of the hill. This person had no business on a dirt bike in the first place. And then lifting him up on the side of the hill, my back was already aggravated that day. I felt it. But as soon as I picked him up, I felt the pop. I felt everything. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be it. And sure enough, the next day I could barely walk. I couldn't hold a dozen of eggs in front of me.
Holy shit. What was the injury exactly?
It was a herniated disc, L5-S1.
Of course.
Right? And that took me out for 10 months.
What was that? You had a herniated, you had an MRI and you had how many millimeters of herniation, do you know?
You know, I couldn't even tell you.
No.
I couldn't even tell you. All I know is it hurt like a mug. I'd say that much.
Yeah, dude, like, fuck, man. Back injuries are terrible because once they do happen, you seize up. Like, you can't move, man. Like, the seizing of all the muscles and stuff, it just locks in place. And that does that to protect your spinal cord from, like, you know, the central nervous system from having any issues. So it'll do that on purpose. But when it happens to you, dude, like, it breaks you. Like, you don't know what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's depressing.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Too, man.
I couldn't even put my shoes on. My kids had to help me put my shoes on. I was like, this is it. I'm done.
That's crazy.
Right? That's what it felt like.
Yeah. So you're off for 10 months? Or so? That's a long time. So that's a long time to be off work. And for those who get injured on the job and you've never been off injury and you go off, it's a very strange experience because you're used to this. First of all, you're with the guys or the boys at the station hooting and hollering and jaw jacking and like throwing jokes, the banter. And you're used to that for, it's your home. It's part of your life, man. You come home, you're injured, and you're supposed to recover, and you don't have that around you to support you. You know what I mean? So that's one part of the equation that's really difficult to deal with, because that part's severed from your lifestyle. And now you don't have that. So you feel something's missing, in a sense, and it can be very disturbing to your experience. And then now you got to deal with being a dad or being a good husband or whatever it is. And then you start to learn how, like, I'm having a problem connecting with them. There's something missing here that I've been missing this entire time. So all these thoughts, these emotions, these things could hit you hard from left field. You didn't know this existed. So it's like the levee had broken, like it's been holding up this dam this entire time. And now the floods of all these things come crashing, that's just, from my own personal experience, that's what it feels like. You know what I mean? I'm sure you can relate to that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the flood of emotions came in and it took over. It was overwhelming. I didn't know what to do with myself. So what I do, like most people, turned to alcohol.
Yeah.
Fixes everything. I didn't like the way the pain pills made me feel, right? They made me feel drowsy, and I didn't like that. And I didn't even think about drinking. I was like, I wasn't going to drink. And then I remember one night I just had a couple beers. I was like, hey, my back feels pretty good now. And so that was it. It was 10 months of nonstop drinking. And it was just like from morning till night, I would go to the bars. And my doctor, my physical therapist, even said, hey, let's start changing your appointments till the afternoon, because I'm coming in hungover, still reeking of alcohol. It was pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you, but it didn't stop me. Just change the dates. And I would limit my drinking the day I knew I had to go to physical therapy. So my drinking revolved around everything I did every day.
Yeah.
So, but I did go back to work, and then my drinking was still there, but I had to put it in check, right? I had to slow down, but that was short-lived. I can only keep it in check for so long. And then just with all the calls we run on and all the stuff we see, I didn't have an outlet and nothing. So I just kept tucking stuff away, burying it deep inside, everything that bothered me at work, at home. I didn't talk to anyone about my feelings. That was the last thing I was going to do, is show weakness at work. Hell no. Have these guys pick me apart? Absolutely not. But at the end, it got me. It got me where it's just, my drinking was completely out of control. Didn't have a relationship with my kids. My marriage was failing due to my drinking. My kids, I didn't know anything about my kids.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
That's a lot of kids.
I have a 21-year-old, 18-year-old, 17-year-old, and a 11-year-old. 11-year-old, my wife and I did foster care for many years.
Oh, wow.
And so we adopted. We got her at 6 months old. Is the last kid we got, and then we adopted her. So it's my baby. It's
beautiful.
She's amazing. She's changed my world completely.
That's cool.
So wasn't able to connect with my kids, and there was multiple times where I'd be drinking at nighttime, and it'd be like clockwork. It'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and all the walls I built would come crumbling down, and I can feel this wave of emotion. And I could just feel it coming. It would just be, I'd cry about my childhood. I cry about calls I went on. I cry about the way I'm feeling, how empty I feel inside. And my wife would hear it almost probably every other night, every night. It was going on for months. I would just cry and call people when I was drunk, right? Just calling for help, but not really wanting the help. You know what I mean? Just cry for help, but wasn't willing to accept anything really, because they'd be like, oh, you need to go to program. I was like, nah, I was just drunk. It was nothing. I was afraid to admit it then. But the turning point for me was March 12th, 2022.
That's not that long ago.
Oh.
That's pretty recent.
I have 2 years, 7 months now of sobriety. Yeah. But so I went to the Great Wolf Lodge with my wife and the kids. And I told my wife I wasn't going to drink because I knew I wanted to stop drinking. I told her I don't want to drink anymore because I feel horrible. And she agreed, okay, no drinking. But as soon as we checked in, right? So we got to the water park, they have a canteen inside. And I swear to you, man, it's like that canteen was calling me. It was like it was pulling me out, like I was floating. That's what it felt like. like you see on TV, the cartoons, you're just
Yeah.
floating. My toes aren't even touching the ground. I just went to that bar and it was just like calling me, and I could not resist. As much as I told myself not to do it, I knew it was gonna be a bad idea. I couldn't stop myself. And I tried. I thought about it, and I said, "Screw it! I'm just gonna go for it." And I did, and I paid the price. I drank for 3 days straight, and I don't remember much of the trip at all. The only thing I remember is from the pictures, and the pictures were embarrassing, really, because I don't remember any of them. I don't remember going down the water slides. I don't remember much. All I remember is the bar and waking up in the room. The bar, waking up in the room. It was just, like I said, it was 3 days of nonstop drinking. And then I went home. So my anxiety would get so bad when I was drinking. When I was coming down, it felt like the walls would close in on me. I needed to escape. Fight or flight kicked in, and I was out. Left my wife to pack everything up, and I took off because I couldn't even be in the room.
What does anxiety feel like to you? Because it's subjective, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For some people.
Yeah. Some people it feels different, but for me, it feels like I said, I feel like the walls are closing on me, and I feel like the room's getting smaller, and I need to get out, and I need to run. I need to get out of the room. Even though there's no danger, my heart's racing. My hands are sweaty. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And my heart is racing. So I have a pulse ox, and I would put it on, and it's, oh my God, I can't breathe. Stating 100%, right?
Yeah.
100%. My heart rate's at 120.
Yeah.
And there's no danger. It's all in my head.
That's the thing too, is like we're experiencing something subjectively, but it doesn't mean that not something is going on. You know what I mean? There's still like an emotion that's in the body that's suppressed, and so we're experiencing these hypersensitivities and a physical symptom, you know what I mean? So it's not like when we go on these calls, we're like, oh, this is bullshit. When we're going to all these anxiety calls, you know what I mean? But the body's doing something because it's crying out for you to do something about it, It's crazy.
So, where we at? Great Wolf Lodge, right?
Yeah.
Great Wolf Lodge. And we make it home. I make it home, right? And the first thing I do is I crack a beer open. Start to calm down. Like, okay, I feel better. The wife and kids come home, and they go take a nap, and I'm still up drinking. I'm out of beer. And it's like, man, I still want to drink. I'm craving it. So I drive to the liquor store, and I really don't remember driving to the liquor store, but I know I did. And I got a bottle of vodka. I was watching Jurassic Park. I remember that. And I probably, within the hour and a half, I probably killed 3/4 of a bottle. So a 750 milliliter.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And I pounded that, and then I was feeling good, right? I was back. I felt great. Woke everyone up, say, let's go back to Great Wolf Lodge. We have our wristbands. We still need to finish off before 8 o'clock. And like I said, I just wanted to go to the bar. I just wanted to get to that bar. It was the only way of me getting there because I couldn't drive anymore. I knew that much. So we went, and I went to the bar, and I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in bed. And as soon as I woke up, I started crying because I knew I messed up. I knew I did something. I just didn't know what, but I knew I did something. I knew I messed up. And I got up, and I looked in the mirror in the bathroom, right? And I'll never forget it. I looked in my eyes and just saw nothing but darkness. I felt empty, alone, scared, regret, remorse. I felt it all. It was just a wave of emotion, and I was crying. I went out to the front room. This is like at 4:30 in the morning, crying to my wife, saying, "I need help. I need help." And she said, "Just go back to sleep." Because I said this 100 other times. I want to get help. And then, I never follow through, just to cry for help. And she said, just go back to bed. And I did. Had a hard time falling back to sleep, but I did. And I woke up again, 8 o'clock in the morning. And again, instantly I woke up and I started crying again. I said I wanted help. And so my dad's a recovering alcoholic. He's been sober for 42 years now. So he's really big in AA. Got my phone out and I wrote him a text. And I wrote that text probably like 5 different times. And I deleted it 5 different times because I knew once I sent it, there was no going back. This is the real deal. And I wrote it and I finally sent it, threw my phone on the bed and just waited. Waited. Because I knew he was going to call me back because he's always been telling me I needed help. He told me for years. I would tell him, I don't need help. You need help. You're the alcoholic, not me. I like to have fun. But I needed help the entire time. Just didn't see it. So he called me back and he said, I'll come pick you up. Let's talk. So he picked me up, went to his house. We talked about AA and I was going to get a sponsor and go that route. And I said, okay, let's do it. So he brought me back home. And this is probably like, brought me home like at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon from his house. And I have a breathalyzer at home, a small one. So I blew into it to see where I was at. And I was still blowing a 0.14 from last night at 8 o'clock at night.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I was coming down, like I was crashing hard. Like my heart was racing. I felt sick, anxious. I was pacing, smoking cigarette after cigarette. Like that was going to help. That made it worse. And so I was like, you know what? I need something to eat. That's what I need. I need to go get some to eat. So it was like probably like 4 o'clock at this time. I go to Taco Bell, right? I'm in drive-thru. And then anxiety kicked in the drive-thru. And I felt it coming and I couldn't stop it. By the time I got to the front to get my food, I was in tears, hyperventilating, carpal spasms, my hands were turning in, and I was in panic. I started to drive home, and I'm gripping the wheel all, cockeyed, just trying to get home. And I called my mom and said, Mom, I need help. So she comes over and she gets there. She's like, oh my God, you look like a mess. I was like, no shit, Mom. I am a mess. I know. I got mad because she said it. I got mad that she said I would look like a mess. She said, you look like shit, I think she said. I was like, I know, I feel like shit, Mom. Don't you think I know this? And she said, what do you want to do? She's like, do you want to go to the hospital? I was like, no, I don't go to the fucking hospital. No. I make fun of people going to the hospital for drinking. When we go on calls, I used to make fun of those people. Get your shit together. Come on, suck it up. I was naive. I didn't know any better. That they were crying for help too. I just didn't see it at the time. And then that's why I was afraid to go. I was like, I don't want to go. I make fun of these people. What does that make me? Makes me an alcoholic like these people were. I didn't believe I was one until I really admitted to myself. So I finally went to the hospital after my mom tried to get me to go a couple of times. And I said, no. I had another panic attack in the garage. I said, okay, let's go. So I went there and I was so nervous to go there, man. I was like afraid because this is to admit to my mom and dad that I was an alcoholic was one thing, but to admit to an ER nurse that I'm an alcoholic was a whole different page, a whole different number. You know what I mean? Like it made it even more real. So I asked me why I was there and I told them I've been drinking for, I think 4 days straight at that time, or 3 days straight, whatever it was. And I said, yeah, I have a drinking problem. I said, okay, they got me back there. I said, I feel like I'm having a heart attack, but I know I'm not. I know it's anxiety. I know that. Got me back there. And then when I was back there laying in the hospital bed, they gave me some IV fluids, some Ativan to calm down. Right. And I was good. But then that's when I thought to myself, I need more than AA. Because AA wasn't going to do it for me. I knew it. I knew I needed something more than that. I needed more help. So that's when I contacted my peer support team. And I sent one text that said, I need help. I can't stop drinking. That was the text I sent. And they called me back within 15 minutes. And then within 30 minutes, First Responder Wellness Center was calling me for an intake. And then I was driving there the next day at 5 o'clock in the morning. And that drive down there was the longest drive ever. It's not that far. It was only like probably 6-7 hours, but it felt like an eternity because I was still hungover. Anxiety is still going through the roof. My mind's racing now. What's this rehab going to be like? Because I didn't know it. When I think of rehab, I think of the stuff that we see Gen Pop go to, right? And it's, let's face it, it's not the same than what a first responder wellness center is. So in my head, I had Gen Pop, regular rehab for everyday people, right?
Yeah.
So when we get to First Responder Wellness Center, it was night and day. It was night and day. It was not what I expected. So I was there for 75 days. Let me tell you, First Responder Wellness Center, that place saved my life. No doubt about it. Because for the first time in my life, I felt accepted and I didn't feel alone. Because there was other men and women at that facility that were going through the same exact thing. different stories, circumstances, but ultimately the same problem: drinking problem, substance abuse, anxiety. And I thought I was by myself this entire time. I really did. At my department, I looked around, I was like, how come nobody else is dealing with this? Why am I the only one? Why am I broken? I wasn't. I'm not the only one. I'm far from it. Just no one really speaks up about it.
Yeah, we're good at hiding it. You know what I mean? Like I was really good at masking myself and through stoicism, which was a disassociative state. You know what I mean? People would think, oh, John's cool. He's calm, collected. He's chill. They didn't know the demons that are crawling on my back. You know what I mean? Before I go to sleep or when I can't sleep. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the first responder wellness center is really great. Our department sends people there as well. So I know I've heard many good things about that facility. So yeah, brother, continue.
Yeah, that's not the only facility out there, but that's just the one I went to, and it worked for me. So like I said, the biggest thing I took away from the facility is I learned about anxiety, right? I had it this entire time, but I had no idea what it was. I just thought it was a feeling that I've always had. I had no idea it was anxiety, honestly. And I learned about my drinking. But one of the main things that I took away from that, I'll never forget, is communication. Learning how to communicate properly. I would yell at my kids, like the way I'd belittle them and just talk down to them. Like I was at the firehouse, I'd yell at them like I expected something to be done. I want it done now. You know what I mean? Like that's not how it works.
Right.
That's not how you create a house of love and nurturing, right? And so once they said that, they had this class, and it just clicked. It clicked like, oh my God, this is me. I've been doing this to my kids for so long. They fear me. They shake. I would yell at them. I would talk crap to them. I would break them down. I did. And it was, to think about it, right? It's horrible. I beat myself up about that a lot. I repaired it since then, but looking back on it, man, I was not in a good place, and my kids' childhood suffered from it. They did. I didn't provide them the best childhood that they could have had because of my drinking and my way of living, really. So, but First Responder Wellness Center taught me about communication. That's one thing that I took away. And as soon as I learned about it, right, I was like, oh my God, I got to start practicing stuff. So I started reading up on it. And that moment on, I had therapy with my kids, and I started working on it then. And so, but now with my kids, my relationship with my kids is unreal now, man. We're like best friends. Like I know their favorite color. I know their friends. Before I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know anything about them. I couldn't even tell what grade they were in, to be honest with you. Just knew they were my kids. That's pretty much it. I was absent father.
No, it's really good is we have an acronym for wildland firefighting, LCES, right? And I love taking acronyms and from the fire service and placing them into our regular life. You know what I mean? And this is a great acronym. I mean, if you have lookouts, are you looking out for yourself and other people? Communication, are you communicating to your spouse or your loved one or your kids on a heart-based level? Do you have an escape route? Do you have an exit? Like you have a place you can go to where you can just decompress? And do you have a safety zone? This is the LCES using wildland fire behavior when you need to have this operation in place, but you can use it for your life.
Yeah,
do you have a safety zone to go to where you feel safe, to where you can open up to someone or anyone, or just have a safety zone to be safe within your body? So it's a really good way to use that in your life. We use the Grab Lives acronym for this podcast, and broke it down from there. How can you use it for mental health? Communication's really difficult if you've never been taught how to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're trying to connect to each other. Like we're always striving for that, but we were not taught as children how to do it. You know what I mean? So we're kind of winging it in a way. You know what I mean? But what happens in a fire when communication's down? Someone gets hurt or killed. You know what I mean? So this is a food for thought. Anyways, sorry, brother, for interrupting.
No, you're good. You're good. So now I'm in rehab, right? So I'm there for 75 days. I get there. I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm not really owning anything yet, owning everything. So when I get there, 2 weeks in, I told my wife I want a divorce. We're done. You're the problem, not me. You allow me to get this way. I blamed her. I knew I had a problem, but I wasn't taking ownership yet. So I said I wanted a divorce, and I was following through with it. So got out of rehab, 75 days, right? I get back home, move back to my mom's house, and I said I want a divorce. And again, I was messing stuff up right out the get-go. They say in the first year of sobriety, do not make any major life decisions. That's what they say. And I said, that's for them. It's not for me. I know what I'm doing. I got 3 months sobriety. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm still running. I'm still running from my problems. It'd be easier for me to get a new relationship instead of repair my old one and really battle our demons that we had and repair some stuff that needs to be fixed. So I got a new girlfriend. Split. And that was short-lived though. Short-lived. Because my wife, we were both split up, and she found that she got a boyfriend, right? And had a girlfriend. And it was my idea, but I didn't anticipate the pain behind it. I thought I was going to be good with it. Far from it. Far from it. Now, it was eye-opening. So now I'm 8 months sober. Okay. 8 months sober now. And my wife has a boyfriend. I had a girlfriend. And she said, we're done. And I said, hold up. What do you mean we're done? Time out. Can I take it back? I want her back. It was too late. It was too late because, again, I didn't fix anything. I ran away. So that's when the house was for sale. It was in November. And that's the night I was still 8 months sober, and I was done. I wanted out. I wanted to check out. That's when I grabbed my gun, put it in my mouth, and I wanted to end the pain. I was tired of feeling this pain. It's still there. It was still there. All that pain was still there. All those emotions were still there. I never learned how to deal with any of my emotions. I suppressed everything. So now that I'm 8 months sober, any problem that came up felt like it was a mountain. Even though it was small. Looking back, it was small, but it felt so big and so overwhelming. I still didn't know how to deal with it then. So what felt best is just to get out, to run, to end it. And when I had the gun in my mouth, I couldn't do it. As much as I wanted to stop that pain. I had it in my mouth. I was ready to do it, but I just couldn't do it, man. I thought about my kids. That's what ultimately stopped me. Because they would have came home in the morning, would have found me there. And then, what would that have done to them? Talk about childhood trauma. I would have ruined them.
Yeah.
So crazy thing again, what do? We bury stuff. You think I told anyone about that when it happened? Absolutely not. Put the gun away, cleaned up my house, cleaned up my hands, are all bloody from punching stuff. And I went to work. It was like at midnight, and I just went to work at 3 a.m, didn't sleep. Just went straight to work, and as if nothing happened.
You went to work the next day?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
I went to work at 3 a.m. and just got to work and just sat there and waited for my shift to start.
Damn, dude.
And people were like, hey, how was your weekend? Blah, blah. Oh, it was good, man. Just worked on the house a little bit, did some painting, getting ready for it to sell. Everything's good. And when it wasn't, I was dying again on the inside. That's what it felt like. And that went on for probably about a month and a half. I just kept it all in. Kept all the stuff that's going on at home now, at work. So I made a video. I make TikToks, right? TikTok's my thing. I make TikToks, and I made a video. It was on Christmas Day. So mind you, this is Christmas Day. I made this video. This is how depressed I am and how just so far down I am. This is at 5 a.m. I make this video. I've been crying all night because it's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I'm having the kids. First time alone on holidays by myself. And that's overwhelming in its own. right? Doing Christmas by myself with my kids I never experienced that. And 5 o'clock in the morning, and I make a video of me crying. And it was real tears, actually. I just recorded myself. I didn't care. And I recorded another part of the video later. It was my kids hugging me on Christmas morning. And it's what you see. And then reality is how I feel. And it was me crying on my hands. And I posted it. I didn't care, just posted it, right? And then I got to work on the 28th. A buddy called me and said, hey, is everything all right? I was like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, well, I saw that video. Are you sure you're good? I was like, I'm good, man. He still kept going. It's like, and then I stopped, took a deep breath. It's like, well, if you really want to know. And everything that just happened that month and a half before, I just, told him. And it felt good to get it off my chest, but then it felt scary again. What are people going to think of me? Am I still messed up, right? I was afraid to ask for help again because I just got out of rehab. I already asked for help. I thought I should be fixed by then, right? One and done, right? I'm good. But no, I had to ask for help again. This peer support team was activated again for me, and I surrendered my guns to them. They wanted to put me in a program for just like a week, they said just a check-in, right? Just be there for a week. But again, I have so much stuff going on. We sold the house. I had to move. And the timing, I just couldn't do it. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't. So went back to surrender my guns and moved out. And then, they got me back into a counselor, and I got on medication. And that seemed to help for a bit, but the medication I don't think is a foolproof plan. But at the time, it helped.
Right.
I will give it that. But I don't think it's an everyday thing for me. So it's pretty much how that story went. And now here I am, 2.5 years later, right? Time heals everything, man.
Yeah.
It really does. It really does. Now I'm on the peer support team, right? Who would have thought I'd be on the peer support team? Who would have, people call me for substance abuse stuff. That's my passion. I love talking about sobriety because it's a beautiful thing. It's a gift. It's a gift to be sober, man. It really is. I love life sober. I get so much out of it. I have so much fun sober now. But then when I was drinking, it's night and day. I get to remember everything that I've done, wake up clear-minded, right? And I still have a good time. I didn't think having fun sober was possible. You could have told me a couple years ago, I said, no way. You can't go to any party sober. That's dumb. Why even go?
That's crazy, man. Thank you for telling your story, dude. Like you told me, we talked on the phone, I heard your story, but I just have so much honor and respect for you just because it takes a lot for someone to open up their heart to their experience. But this is how we heal. We heal together. We do this together because there's things that only our hearts have felt, only our eyes have seen. And it's subjective. No one can feel it but you. Mm-hmm. And we work through that by expressing ourselves. That's part of communication. When we express ourselves, we're not afraid of being judged because we judge ourselves. Now we can open up to each other in an expansive way. That is how we heal in community. So thank you so much, man, for that. And it's crazy because I resonate to your story. I know what that feels like when the walls are crashing, and it's very disturbing in a sense where you want to run, but the only way is through. You have to face it. Mm-hmm. You have to face it no matter what. And when you do face it, you're at toe to toe with it. That demon starts to shrink. And that's where you're talking about the time thing. Like over a period of time, that's little by little, this big monster that you created starts to just dwindle down to a small ant, however it is. And that's the whole thing is we're never running. We can never escape things. You know what I mean? They'll always be there in a sense. But as we grow, our responsibilities grow as well. And that's the hard part about people wanting to not change, because they know that subconsciously those responsibilities get bigger. Now you have a peer support, You're a peer supporter, and people are going to call you for advice, because you've been in that position. So, but that's the whole point of growth. We get to now expand ourselves in ways we never thought we could have. You know what I mean? And it's really powerful and beautiful, but the show must go on. We still have to go to work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We still got to do the things we got to do. And it doesn't mean that those walls can come crashing again. But since we have the experience, now when those walls start crashing, you start to have a bit more of an anchor or a foothold onto who you are. You know what I mean? I bet you've learned a lot about yourself in like 2 years of sobriety.
Oh yes. I've learned a lot.
So let's talk about that, man. And what have you learned through sobriety about yourself? Love to hear that.
What I've learned about myself, one of the biggest things is that I am enough. For so long, I thought I was never enough, never good enough for anything. It's not a true statement. I've always been good enough, but I never could see it or feel it, right? I would always tell myself that negative self-talk would always win in my head. And so what I've learned is that I am enough, and I'm a good person regardless of everything that I've done in the past, right? I just think I was a shitty person. I'm a fucked up human being. I'm not. I made some bad choices, yeah. Some bad decisions. It doesn't define who I am. It just means I have stuff to work on and I can grow from it. And I have. So I think what I've learned the most from my sobriety, though, is for me, sobriety is the key and the way to life for me. There's no other way about it. I can't go back. I don't want to go back. I refuse to go back to the way things were. It's just, man, sobriety has opened so many doors for me. Like, look where I'm at today. 2.5 years ago, you think I was like, oh, I'm going to be on a podcast talking about sobriety? No way in hell. No. Would I be at a peer support conference? No. It's through sobriety. I have a mentorship program at an elementary school that I went to, that I started. And I did it last year and started this school year. And it's all because I'm sober, man. That I'm able to give back to these kids and be a mentor. Because I've been through some of the struggles they're going through, broken homes, the gang life, some sort, right? It's real relevant in the community that I work in. So I'm able to be a mentor to these kids. And again, I say it so many times, it's all because I'm sober. Everything is because I'm sober. My job I have today is because I'm sober. And I'm only speaking for myself, not just for me.
Right.
Right. I know everyone doesn't have this problem, and I used to think it's a curse, but not so much anymore. I think it's a blessing. I know it sounds weird, but to get through that struggle to where I'm at today, I had to go through that stuff, and it's only made me stronger. I know it doesn't sound right to say that.
No, I mean, dude, you're speaking from the heart, so who gives a fuck what people think? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you've gotten to that point, you know what I mean, where you don't care.
Yeah.
Because the suffering's not worth it, brother. You know what I mean? And, going back to like self-worth, like that's huge, man. Self-worth it holds the power of who we are as human beings, and like that unworthiness, it's a pattern of behavior of self-sabotage because it keeps us from receiving love. It keeps us from receiving the gifts of life and the blessings it has to offer. And then so if we're holding on to something from the past that has created this pattern of unworthiness within us, it really causes this trickle effect into a limiting belief system that I'm not good enough. And then we start to believe it. Mm-hmm. We start to believe that voice in the back of our minds, and I know through self-worth and understanding, I mean, even in our job, it creates this dynamic for you to start thinking you're having some shame for not knowing something at the beginning of your career or even later in your career, because our job is so dynamic that we can start to create this limiting belief system that we're not worthy, or my worth is lower than my captain because I don't know enough. I don't know everything that he or she knows. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we start to create these things and we do it to ourselves. And I'm only speaking from my own personal perspective because recently I caught myself doing it to myself at work, where I was like judging myself for forgetting something when I was on the truck. And I just was like, damn, dude, that was stupid of me to forget that. But I judged myself and I went home and I was like, I really sat with that for 3-4 days because it I caught it. And that disturbed me because I was like, man, I'm doing this to myself. And I still harshly criticize myself, because I don't feel worthy at some point, so I had to look at that. And that took a while for me to get there, to even have the conscious awareness to see my own patterns of what is sabotaging me, and it does take some excavation. Each person has to go to a therapist, and from therapy, you got to go to someone's going to teach you more because, but what I've come across is good mentors, who've taught me these things. And, there's like an ancient African proverb is that there's no enemy outside of ourselves that can do us any harm, but the enemy within can. And that's true in itself, dude. That African proverb will hold true to my grave, because when do I stop punishing myself, with my own behavior? And I'll have to get to the root of it, and I do on certain versions of what I'm learning from myself, you know what I mean? But it's tough, dude. And then the journey doesn't end, man. Like Nipsey Hussle says, like the marathon continues, you know what I mean? It's just, it fucking doesn't end. But we do it together, and that's what peer support is about. And for those who don't know anything about peer support, we have an adverse reaction to going to a therapist, because I know for myself, I've been in a therapist seat, or on the other side of a therapist, and I'm like, this bitch she's full of shit. Like, she doesn't know what she's thinking. She doesn't know how I feel. She can't even connect to me. And that's how I would react internally. And I'd walk out the door. But peer support is I would be able to talk to someone who's been in my shoes, who understands the career and the stress that's involved, the shit we are exposed to, and the burdens we carry, and we realize we don't have to carry them. But peer support is going to be an effort to have this greater realization through that. Like, hey, I do have a huge group of people I can go to, and so I always, we're here at this conference, man, and you see it, you run into all these people, and like, they all have some story, man, that took them to be where they're at today in that conference. Now, there's over 750 of them there,
Isn't that amazing to see all those people there?
Yeah, man.
It just further validates that we're not alone. But there's other people that are going through similar stuff, that are struggling, or they've been somewhere for sure.
Yeah,
they've struggled somewhere, and it's just amazing to see that group of people coming together, because it's an issue everywhere.
Yeah,
and I like that it's coming up and it's at the forefront of stuff now. It's getting bigger every year, and I'm glad we're on board. That's for sure, because we need people like you and myself and all those other people there to spread the word and let them know that peer support's here and what the value it holds.
Yeah,
because it's huge. Like you said, going to a therapist, some therapists don't even get it. Like, they don't understand what we do. But our buddies, our peers, they get it and they understand. So it's night and day.
Yeah, I mean, like, I had just offered some peer support to a guy who's in the drill tower. He called me and he's like, man, like, I'm fucking really going through it, and I just like, I knew exactly what he was going through. I was in the same exact spot he was in, and he was carrying so much pressure. He's pressuring himself too much, where then he blanks out, on an operation that he's getting tested on inside the academy. And you can't do that. You have to, the more you pressure yourself, because you this masochism, like just punishing yourself all the time because you're not good enough. These are like what's in the background of all that pressure you put it on. You know what I mean? What are people going to think of me if I fail? Mm-hmm. All these what if questions, like, fear is paralyzing. And all of us have experienced what fear is like once you're in those moments. You know what I mean? It's fucking, you go into a shock, you know what I mean? And it was just crazy talking to him, because I knew exactly what to say, man, because I've been in his shoes. It was crazy because, and I talked to our behavioral director. I was like, hey, dude, like, I talked to that guy or whatever. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. Like, cause I asked one of the clinicians, like, who should this guy call? And they're like, John. Anyway, it worked out perfect, because they all know too who this person should call. You know what I mean? And so we have a great team, and it's been built over the last couple of years to where we all know, if someone's going through something. Like, if someone is talking to me and they're going through a divorce or something, I don't know who to call because I haven't gone through that. Or I don't have that receptivity to be able to connect with him, but I know someone who can. And that's the best part about it is like this thread we're creating, you know, and now we start to create this strength together, you know. It's pretty great.
I was gonna bring something else up.
Bring it up, dog.
Where we talk, I had a thought that come up. Damn it.
Well, don't worry about that, dude. But going back, I want to go back to the paralyzation with fear, you know, because fear shows itself with many different masks, you know, but fear is like the catch-all, you know what I mean, of what it goes back to, you know what I mean? And it's going to extend itself, you know, through thoughts, through emotion, or through flashing memories, you know what I mean? And even through like life experiences, the way we interact with people, there's fear that can come through it. And we have to recognize what fear is. And once we have like an awareness to it, put a name to it, or a mask to it, or put some type of visualization in it, because it makes it more powerful to where you know what it is. So it's recognizable. And I always like start learning about way more practices to help myself, you know, and to have a greater understanding of how can we get our reins on our mental health. And it's not that simple, you know, but there's certain practices through visualization because we're really powerful, you know what I mean? And so if you can, like for me, I put like a demon mask that I had created in my mind on fear. And every time that comes up, it starts to come around in my consciousness. I know exactly what it is, instead of it trying to mask itself as something else. And this can be super far-fetched, but it's just something I've done in my own practice. And it's because I've gained a relationship with myself. And that's what this comes down to, is we gain a relationship with who we are. And that anchor just goes deeper into the heart of self. And the more we can gratify that anchor, you know, it just starts, nothing can shake you anymore. And when the storms come, you're good. You might get thrown around a little bit, but the anchor of who you are is there. And so that's when you become more valuable to other people, friends, family, and so forth. You become more of an asset to others. We need more of those anchors out in this world right now, man, because especially as things start, you can see the chaos right now in our country. You know what I mean? We need more of those anchors to really support one another. Because when it comes down to it, dude, when I cut my arm here and you cut your arm, we bleed the same blood. You know what I mean? That's all that matters. Do you remember what you were supposed to say?
No, I don't remember what I was supposed to say. It's a lost thought now.
Oh, it's all good, man. So sobriety is tough, man. Sobriety is really fucking tough. I've gone through my own sobriety stuff, and I had to force myself into sobriety because it was affecting my injury, my head injury. And I think white knuckling, I never went through AA or anything like that. You know, I just did it, and I had great mentors and people to support me. You know what I mean? And I never had those tools, but going through sobriety and living a different lifestyle, it shook me, man, because it only was like short-lived though, because after a while I started to realize like, dude, I feel so clear-headed, you know, and I feel so more open. And if I ever put any substance in my body that does fog me up, I don't like it, you know, and I like to feel like great in my skin, you know what I mean? And those substances don't, you know what I mean? It's a pretty amazing feeling.
I'm sobriety again. Sobriety is the key. Sobriety is the key. It's once you detox from alcohol and you get that clarity, it is amazing. It's an amazing feeling. I remember when I first got sober and I went to a baseball game, sober, right? I went to the A's game. RIP A's in Oakland Coliseum.
The A's, dude? Come on, man. I'm walking out of here, man.
So I went to the A's game, right? And I've never went to a baseball or sporting event sober since I was, a kid. So I remember walking in there, and I remember the smells were different, right? I could smell everything. It was weird. I could smell everything. Everything was so vibrant. The sounds, the ball, the bat, the crack of it was just unreal. And that's probably one of my first realizations of being sober. Was amazing. Was that moment. I know it's just a baseball game, but that memory will forever stand out in my head. I don't know what it is about it, but it was just, everything was so different. I wasn't in line to grab 10 beers and standing in line to go pee every 20 minutes and missing the game any damn way.
Yeah. How's your relationship with your kids now, man?
Oh, bro, my relationship with my kids is amazing. I have a different relationship with all of them. My 21-year-old, I kicked him out. I kicked my son out when he would turn 18. I was drinking then. I kicked him out at 18, right? He was smoking weed. And he came home high one day and I was like, if you do this again, you're out of here. He did the very next day and I threw him out. I gave him 3 months to find a place to live in, out of my house. Was it the right thing to do? No, it wasn't. You know, I should have nurtured him and loved on him more instead of pushing him away. I didn't communicate it with him. It was just, I threw him out to the wolves, really. He stood on his own feet. He made it. But today he's back at home with us. He just moved back home probably 3 months ago. And I love having him at home, man. Have my oldest boy there and he's working. We're trying to figure out a game plan for him for school and to see what he wants to do. I don't want him just to go anywhere. I want him to pick something he's passionate about. That's what matters. I want him to be happy with what he does. My 18-year-old already finished EMT school.
Shit.
Yeah, he finished his senior year. He was a senior in high school, and I paid for an outside program, and he went on the weekends, and he crushed it.
Nice, man.
He crushed it. And then he does creative cakes. He makes these cakes that look so realistic. So he does that on the side, and he works at the Great Wolf Lodge, believe it or not. I haven't been back to Great Wolf Lodge since. I refuse to go back.
Dude.
And then my 17-year-old's in high school, and, you know, our relationship is great. We just came back from Reno. Just him and I. It was so much fun, man. Had so much fun. We did all kinds of stuff. We laser tag, escape rooms, arcade, room service. He's never had room service before. He's never experienced it. So we got room service. He's like, oh my gosh, it's like TV, Dad. It was amazing. And then my 11-year-old, just our relationship is so much better. She come to me, she talks to me. Like, it's just, everything's so good with my kids, man. It is so good.
Dude, it's crazy, man. Like you're when you're going through some shit, man, and you're being just all the stupid stuff you get caught up in. All of us get caught up in, you know what I mean? And you go to your kids, like it just shrinks it all. You know what I mean? It makes it all go away. But that's the power of love, man. Like as far as like being hippy dippy and saying, you know, it's all about love, it really is, man. It makes it all melt. And it just helps, you know what I mean? Because when you're engaging even with a child at a younger age, like, man, like their imagination just blows me away. And I'm like, I just like laugh to myself. I'm like, dude, I'm getting caught up in this stupid shit, stuff that doesn't even matter. And when I'm focusing on stuff that really does matter, like imagination and true compassion and nurture, like you were talking about, like it melts it all away, man. It really does. And that's why I always say like family is medicine. You know, like it just really is. It helps us get us out of our stuckness. You know what I mean? And I kind of like, I have a really strange relationship with my mother because your relationship with our moms is always going to be like, Mom, like, fuck, you know? And I stopped doing that. You know, I realized like my heaven with my mom is as me sitting down with her and watching a Lifetime original movie, which I hate, but that's her heaven. You know what I mean? I had to stop myself from resisting what her heaven is. And I have to be with her and realizing that quality of time, I may never have that ever again. You know what I mean? And I have to get out of my own shit and resistance of all like, oh, this is a stupid fucking movie, man. But it's not. You know, that time with my mom is precious. And so I really have learned to guide myself with family as medicine, family as medicine, family as medicine, because it really is, you know?
Absolutely. It's funny. You said Lifetime.
Yeah, dude, those movies are terrible.
Oh my God. I hate Lifetime because my mom used to watch it all the time. She says the wives. I used to say it's the Wives and No Lives channel. That's what I used to say all the time.
It really is, man.
My mom watches Lifetime as well. And, you know,
it's the same plot every single movie.
Pretty much. My relationship with my mom and dad is different as well. Like now I cherish the time with my mom. Before I used to be like, oh, I don't want to hang out with my mom. Like, oh, she called me, I would never answer. I'm like, I'm not picking it up. I'm drinking. I don't got time for this. Now, like, we went to Reno. She went to Reno with us a couple times already. I've taken her, right? We go on little trips together. We hang out. My mom and dad talk probably almost daily now.
It's good, man.
And it's just, our relationship is so good. Everything's been repaired through my childhood traumas, you know, through my parents' divorce. I held on to that till I went to rehab and I finally released it. It was never my burden to carry in the first place, but I held on to it as if it was mine. And once I was able to release it, it wasn't a problem anymore. Now I could talk about it openly and not cry about it. I used to cry about it all the time. As soon as I mentioned it, I would start tearing up. My sister's like, why are you crying? It's over 20-something years ago. Why are you still holding on to this? I don't know. I just did. I never learned how to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's abandonment is the core wound behind that. You know, and my parents got divorced when I was 18, and I felt that, man. You know, it was a pretty tragic story, you know, but I still subconsciously hold it. You know what I mean? And from a wound can carry so many other things, the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat our relationships. And it carries out, man, at a subconscious level until we make it conscious, until someone points it out to you. And, you know, I just do my best to shine light on things. So I don't do it for my further generation. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to pass my own shit on to my kids. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, you know what I mean? And I want to stop it at me. All the stuff that I had to go through, it stops where I'm at. You know what I mean? It doesn't carry on to my own lineage for them to pass it on to someone else. I can't let that happen. And so it takes a greater responsibility when you stop it at you, you know? And we make mistakes, man. We have to be in our humanness as we are, you know? And when we honor that, we start to stop trying. We just like become who we are supposed to be, you know? It's kind of philosophical, but whatever, fuck it.
It worked.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of break, I was telling my dad, breaking the cycle, right? I tell my dad all the time. I was like, I call him, I tease him all the time about it. Now we have a good relationship, right? I make fun of him about everything that would happen. I was like, hey, I'm breaking the cycle, Dad. I'm hanging out with my kids, right?
Damn.
It is so,
good,
we
man.
laugh about it. We laugh so hard about it because we were so, like, we laugh about AA and he'll tell me stuff. I'm like, oh, come on. I've already used that line, Dad. Get something new, get new material. But he speaks to me about sobriety, man. He's so good with sobriety, man.
That's good.
Like, talk about something that has stuff together, right? Not perfect. No one's perfect. But when he speaks, man, when he goes to AA and speaks, the command presence, like the people listen to him, and it's like,
That's good.
And I'll be in the back, like, that's BS. I lived with them. When he shares his story, it is so funny, man. He'll share his story at AA, right? And I'll be in the back, and he'll look at me up like, that's not how it went down, Dad. Because he talks about like, oh, when I got sober, everything was so good, you know, to an extent, right? Into my parents' breakup, right? But when he says it after the meeting, I'm like, why are you lying, Dad? It wasn't good. I lived through it. It's so we have so much fun together. We just pick each other apart now, but in a good way. It's funny.
It's good, man. It's healthy, right? And being like communication, right, through humor is probably like one of the best things we can do. That's crazy, man. So I think we're gonna close here. Thank you so much for showing up, brother. I really appreciate you and your story. It's really powerful. So if someone wants to follow you on TikTok or whatever, brother, how do they do that? Or if you want to reach out from peer support, we have a lot of first responders to listen. So if they ever want someone to talk to you about sobriety and so forth, how do they do that?
My TikTok handle is Julio Munoz 31222. Follow me, send me a message, and I'll respond back because I get a lot of people.
Oh, you put the date down for your...
my handle's
the sweat lodge.
Yeah, it's 31222 is my sobriety date. It's the last. I didn't drink that day, so that was my sobriety date.
Oh, man. Wonderful. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Really helps the algorithm for people to listen to Julio's message. Someone that really needs to hear it could land in their lap if you like and subscribe. Comment, please. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Take care.
It's time for Crab